Welcome, friends, to another episode of Better Relationships After Baby. This is the last episode of 2024, as tomorrow we start a new year. And one thing you're not going to hear me say is new year, new me, or new year, new you. But what you will hear me say is new year, more of you, more of what is true at your core of who you are. I am in my mid 30s, and I think the biggest lesson of my 30s has been that it's always been inside of me. I am who I am, and there were so many years of picking up pieces of other people's truths or other people's expectations or who I thought I was supposed to be. And my 30s have been a lot of letting those pieces go and returning to myself. And that is true personally. It is true as a mother. It is true as a wife and a partner. And I see this in relationships as well. And so today I want to just give you a little encouragement as we go into the new year and help you think about ways to really return to yourself and yourselves in your relationship in a way that helps you to live more naturally. And I don't mean like natural in the sense of foods and nutrition. I mean, those things are good and great, but I mean with ease. When you are not trying to keep up with an illusion or with outside expectations, there is more ease. When you are finding the pieces of yourself and yourselves as a couple and the goals and ambition and values and priorities that are really true to you, there is more ease. And that is what I want to offer to you as we enter into the new year. And if you are in a place where you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed or unsure of what step to take next or where to even start, I'm going to tell you something. It's probably not because you don't have enough information. It's because you have too much. Now, I'm going to go a little TMI here for a minute, but it's really going to come back around and make a point, I promise. But there can be so much information overload. And a lot of times we don't get started on something because there are so many options and we don't know where to start, or we want to find the perfect solution. And so instead of taking a first step, we wait and we wait and we wait and we look and we look and we gather and we collect information and we just have this information, but we never see a change. My TMI is that I have gut health issues, and I beg you to not send me all of your shakes and pills and things for gut health. Bless. Please don't. I've spent a lot of time with different doctors and nutritionists and just in my own research trying to figure out positive gut health. And here's the reality. There is a lot of information out there. I know that I can completely cut out sugar. I know that I can go totally low FODMAP. I know that I can, do certain movements or add certain supplements. But when I first started to explore this, it was very, very overwhelming for me to want to make a change that would help me feel better in my body when it felt like there were 20 different things to start at the same time. And what I had to do and what I have to do when I get off course, because I do, and I need to recenter, is I pick the one thing I need to start with. And maybe it's the most perfect thing, and maybe it's not, but it's the one thing I can start getting the ball rolling with. And for me, that is picking up intermittent fasting. That's very helpful for me. It's helpful for my digestion. My body feels better when I do that. And so, yes, there are probiotics. Yes, there are dietary changes. Yes, there are supplements. But I know that if I try to do all of those things at once, I'm never going to start because it is a paralysis. It's an overload. And I see this a lot for people in their relationships. It's, do we start with the fact that we're not having sex a lot? Do we start with the fact that our finances, we're not aligned on those? Do we start with the fact that, maybe this isn't where we want to live and raise our family? Do we start with the fact that our arguments are harsh and mean? Do we start with the fact that our spiritual beliefs are in different places? And so people bring so much to the table that then it can become an information overload. And this can have a really negative impact on decision making in relationships and in personal growth. So, with the new year, I want to encourage you to shift your focus from gathering information and input all the time to instead picking an intentional action to take, to practice, to get better at, to report back on, and to have accountability in, and for you to let go of that having to be the perfect step. The average person consumes 74 gigabytes of data daily. Now, I don't know what the fuck 74 gigabytes of data really means. Luckily, this is sourced from the University of California, San Diego in 2020, and they said that that's the equivalent of watching 16 movies per day. The information and data that comes into our head, that is a lot. And in 2022, an Ashurian study showed that adults check their phone 96 times a day on average. And for some, it's more than that. And when we check our phones, even if we're just going to scroll and get out of our heads, you're not getting out of your head. You're planting things in there. This is a reason why I'm actually taking a pretty major pause on my social media. If you follow my Better Relationships After Baby or Chelsea Brooks Skaggs, which was formerly Postpartum Together, you will see that I am just creating kind of a landing page instead of regular posts, because what I have found is that people just are struggling to take action with the things that they see. So I can create, some information and put a post out there, but you guys, if you're getting on social media to scroll and to take in information, it's kind of planting like a little seed the size of a sugar cube, not a cube, not even a sugar cube, the tiny, tiny little piece of sugar, but it's not making an impact. And it's because there is just a lot going on. You might be struggling with analysis paralysis. So there are just too many options, which leads to inaction. You're feeling overwhelmed and anxious about all the things you could do, all the directions you could go, all the steps you could take, all the next pieces you could put into, your self-growth or your relationship. And so people just stay paralyzed in that. There is obviously the comparison culture where we are seeing others' curated successes, and it can cause self-doubt. And so then we don't even have the confidence to take the next step, or we create more things that are problems in our life and relationship that wouldn't be problems if we didn't see someone else doing it or having it a different way. This is exhausting. Okay, so here's a little bit of a here's a little bit of a kind of a reality check or some tough love. If you are exhausted from the mental load, yet you are constantly taking things in and not taking action, you are creating more mental drain and exhaustion on yourself, and you're going to lack clarity. You've got to put on some blinders if you want to make progress forward. And that means getting intentional about how much input you're getting, where you're getting input, and when and where you're actually taking action and having support and accountability on that. In your relationship specifically, partners can often get stuck debating ideas or talking about the problems or the things they wish they had or the changes they want to see without a clear plan, because you're not taking the first step, because there are 100 different side roads that you could take. And so then you feel frustrated that nothing is changing. You feel disconnected. But of course, you're not going to feel connection and growth together if you're not taking clear steps and being able to check in on those and have support and accountability on those without bringing up 100 different directions. So my encouragement to you, my challenge to you into this new year is to think about fewer inputs in your life and more clear focus. You want to have effective action and deeper communication. So we're going to do this through the domino effect. We need to identify what is the one impactful change that will naturally lead to progress in other areas. Sure, there might be a lot of shit in your relationship that you would like to see changed. The mental load, the resentment, the parenting styles, when and how you argue, when and how you each take self-care time and time with friends, your sex life, right? But if we bring all of those up as a list of problems, it's just going to feel like a disconnect. You and your partner are going to feel discouraged, and you're going to stay stuck there, honestly. What we have to do to see change is identify one impactful change that naturally leads to progress in other areas. If you've not seen, I have a free quiz, and it is all about figuring out what the biggest roadblock is in your relationship. I have identified 4 major roadblocks that my couples experience, that I see, that I hear about. And the purpose of this free quiz I have is to give you one area to start focusing on. And then I actually give you a workbook that you can download or save as a PDF and fill in and start making progress in that area. I'm going to put that in the show notes because if you've not taken it, it is quick, it is simple, but the workbook gives you a place to start that will have a domino effect. This is also a huge part of what I do with my clients is, sure, they might come to me with a list of 10 to 100 things that they would like to see different. But my work and my job is to help them figure out where the biggest disconnect is and how we hone in on that, because it's going to alleviate the stress in other areas. It's like, oh my gosh, I wish I could give you guys a visual via the audio, but all these strings are wound up. And if one string is pulled and straightened out and taken care of, then there's ease and there's rest in the rest of them. I hope you got a visual from that. And if you did not, I apologize that I just took the last 15 seconds of your life with that. But the thing is, I want you to have progress. I don't want you to have perfection in your relationship. That's silly to even think about because we are humans and we are 2 different humans coming together to share a life, and that shit is hard. But progress and not staying stuck in your cycle of complaining and bitching and whining and wishing and comparing and thinking that everyone else has it easier or that something else would be better. It's just not like that. So what I help my clients do, and I'm happy to help you do if this is striking a chord with you, is figure out where do we start and how do we hone in on that? And then how do we let that trickle in to the other goals or frustration points in the relationship to continue making things better? An example that I see a lot, probably the number one thing that I work on with my clients, is improving communication. And communication means a lot of things, specifically the way that people argue and the way that they proactively communicate. Doing that before it gets to the argument point enhances their teamwork. It alleviates some of the inequity of the mental load. It reduces the stress that they're bringing into the home. It increases the amount of time that they feel playful and relaxed with their kids. It strengthens their intimacy because they feel like a team and they feel safe and emotionally open, and therefore even physically open. But it's the trickle effect. If we try to focus on all of those things, we're not going to see progress. So we have to figure out what is the thing. My work is figuring out what is the thing. I call myself a coach, but maybe I should call myself a detective because that is what I love to do. The sleuthing work, the getting to the main point. In a 2018 study in the Journal of Behavioral Decision Making, they found that people are 40% more likely to achieve their goals when they simplify their options and focus on a single priority. Okay, so there's a lot of factors that go into achieving goals, seeing growth, enjoying the fruits of that growth. But there is a lot more success when you are simplifying your options and focusing on a single priority. Couples thrive when they have a shared focus. This reduces the friction caused by all the conflicting ideas, the scattered efforts, the times when you pass by your partner and you're like, hey, maybe we should do this, or so and so are doing this, or I really wish we could do this. Like, get aligned. It doesn't mean that you can never get to those other thoughts you have, but streamline, focus. Okay, so I want to give you a couple of things that you can do this month in starting that. So step one, narrow the focus. What is one change that could have the biggest impact on your life together? Hello, I would love to help you do that. I support my clients in this journey, but also maybe you want to do it alone, and that's okay. If I were to do this with a couple, I would start with a weekly check-in as a couple. What are the big priorities this week? What are the schedule changes this week? How are you feeling this week? What's one way that you need supported this week? Just consistently taking time to logistically and emotionally check in. Number two, I really want you to limit your input sources. Find 2 to 3 trusted voices or resources. Maybe this is a book that you turn to, 1 or 2 coaches, 1 or 2 podcasts, and tune out the rest. And if that means you have to tune out this podcast, that's fine. I will be okay. But stop taking in so much information and not taking action on it. Okay. You are going to be 60% more effective when you intentionally limit sources of input. Mute those Instagram pages or unfollow, or maybe you keep your Instagram page to post things to the followers and community you've built, but maybe you make a separate account where you only follow 5 to 10 other accounts, and that's just where you go for intentional information. Like, you are in control here. You are in the driver's seat. Next, create a simple, actionable plan for 30 days. So if improving communication is your goal, set one night a week for those uninterrupted conversations, that check-in, and track it for 30 days. Get started. And if you're having a hard time staying consistent, then call me. I can help. And then I'm here to make a case for having accountability too, because I have seen people try things, get frustrated, point fingers, start again, feel like they're even further behind. And the reason I believe in coaching, the reason I do this day in and day out, is that coaches provide clarity, focus, accountability, and a neutral third party, which can help you see things from both perspectives. It can help you have a plan to follow through, and it can give you that one reliable place to keep coming back to and have someone in your corner that can keep you moving forward. This week, as you start the new year, I'm not saying like do a total social media detox or never get on Instagram or completely change your relationship this week. Like, come on, let's set realistic goals. Let's think about it from a value perspective. How do you want to live your life? How do you want your relationship to be? And what do you need to do or stop doing in order to do that? I encourage you to stop scrolling for answers this week. There's not going to be a perfect answer out there because nobody is you. Nobody is in your shoes. But take some time to yourself. New Year's Eve is a great time to do that. New Year's Day is a great time to do that. We have a weekend coming up. Like, take some time with your journal, a piece of computer paper, a rock tablet outside. I just said that because I'm looking out my window and my son is an excavator archaeologist of our yard, and we have some large rocks that he has dug out of our yard. That's probably not what you're going to do, but if it is, whatever. Find a place to record your thoughts, your priorities, your values, and ask, what's the one change I can make that will start the domino effect? Maybe you share that journal entry with your partner, or maybe you just have that conversation over coffee one morning, or when the kids are in bed, or when the kids aren't in bed. You know what? Don't wait for the perfect time. If you are ready, though, to move from that overwhelm, if you're feeling that overwhelm, that analysis paralysis, and you want to move to more clarity, now is the time to reach out about coaching. I want to help you create a plan, keep you accountable, have you experience growth and success on a very organic and meaningful level for you and your partner. And coaching is one of those ways that you can step into action and make the changes that you have been wanting. And I am taking clients now for 2025. My vacation ends at the end of this week. And I am really looking forward to some of the powerful changes that are available to you when you are able to get clarity, get focused, and have support doing that. All right, friends. Cheers to the new year. Cheers to connecting with more of you on a very natural level and shedding some of the shit that you have been carrying that's not yours to carry anymore. Love you, babes. Can't wait to see what we get to do together in 2025.